How does that look? Does that look good? There we go. Okay, let's go. I hope you can't see how messy my room is in the reflection of this picture. Oh well, just ignore it. I've actually never been to Paris. I just really like this picture a lot and I like the frame. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We're in the middle of winter. It's so cold out. It was really sunny today though. I went out and took a walk. Even though winter ends on like March 21st, I think it's still gonna be pretty cold after that. So I had made a fall reading list video. Well, it was like a fall reading list and I kind of just turned it into like a horror thriller reading list because I took forever to edit it and everything. Anyway, I'm still reading just as much. So I wanted to make a winter reading list. So I have some good books on this list. It's a much shorter list than my fall reading list, and I plan on doing like a spring reading list and then a summer reading list. So I'm very excited and let's get into it. So I just have 5 books here. Well, maybe I'll grab one more. So starting off, we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. If you don't know what Harry Potter is about, you've probably been living under a rock for the past 20-something years. Basically, this kid finds out he's a wizard, goes off to a magical school for witchcraft and wizardry. It's kind of like friendship and fighting evil and all this stuff. Anyway, anytime like fall and winter, I always am in like a Harry Potter mood. I always either want to read a book, like read a Harry Potter book, or watch one of the Harry Potter movies. I did watch the Harry Potter like anniversary special that they had on HBO. That was really good. If you have not seen that yet, I suggest watching that. Anyway, so I actually meant to add this to my fall reading list and then I completely forgot to. So I was like, well, I'll just add it on my winter reading list. So definitely Harry Potter. Next, we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I have not read this yet. I think I'll read this next. I'll probably read this super quick. It's a mystery. It's basically the bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid. All have a secret, all have a motive, but only one is a murderer. So definitely it's a mystery, but it just like, I don't know, the cover like looks wintry and dreary and makes me want to get cozy by a fire and read it. So I'm excited to read this. It was on Reese Witherspoon's book club, but I've heard so many other people talk about this book, so I was like, I need to read this. It actually sounds really good. I'm not a big mystery person. I feel like sometimes in the past, if I've read a mystery or watched a mystery movie, I don't know, I feel like I kind of get lost and I don't know who it could be. The next book, wow. I read this book in a week, which is unheard of for me, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. First of all, this cover looks awesome. Look how cool this book cover looks. Oh my god. I read this in a week. I could not put it down, which is it was so good. And this is part of a series, the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I already finished the second book, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. This really isn't on my list, but as soon as I finished this, I was like, I need to know what happens next. I need to read the next book. So I ordered it and I got it the next day and just, yeah, I finished it last night actually. So, if you do not know what this is about, I'm gonna read the back for you. When 19-year-old huntress Tahereh kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Tahereh discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal, immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least, he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy, Tamlin, transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie that she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient, wicked shadow is growing, and Tahereh must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. So, I would say this book, it was really just so enchanting to read. It's fantasy, it's political too, there's some politics in it, it's adventurous. It's romantic. It kind of reminded me of a mix between Game of Thrones, like the more politics and like the land is kind of divided up by different courts, and that just kind of reminds me a little bit of Game of Thrones. Kind of reminds me of the adventure sense from like Lord of the Rings, and kind of like The Witcher, and like all like the, like there's not, it's not just like fae, like the fairies, there's also these weird kind of creatures in it too as well. So it kind of just reminds me of a lot of different themes. It's fantasy based, but all these different factors into it. So if you're a fan of any of that stuff, you need to read this book. Thank you, Sarah J. Maas. Like this, I'm just so excited to be reading this series. I know I have other books on my list to read, but the third book in the series is on its way, so I'm very excited to read it. Anyway, now that I've geeked out about this book, let's move on. Next we have Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. I know I probably did not pronounce that right. Again, another kind of wintry book cover we got. I read this a couple years ago. It was really good. Again, it was one of those books that I kind of like read pretty fast. So let me just go ahead and read the book because I kind of feel like I need a refresher on it. The moon understands what it means to be human. Uncertain, alone, cratered by imperfections. No one knows why Juliet's touch is fatal, but the re-establishment has plans for her. Plans to use her as a weapon. But Juliet has plans of her own. After a lifetime without freedom, she's finally discovering a strength to fight back for the very first time and to find a future with the one boy she thought she'd lost forever. In the electrifying first book in the Shatter Me series, Tahereh Mafi presents a riveting dystopian world, a thrilling superhero story, and an unforgettable heroine? Heroine? I need to catch up on my pronunciations. This definitely had that like post-apocalyptic kind of world. It reminded me a little bit of like Divergent and the Hunger Games a little bit. I did like the character a lot. Basically she has this magical power. Her touch is lethal. Like she can touch someone, they die from it, I think. Yeah, great book. Would recommend this. I decided I want to add one more book. This kind of reminds me of winter. Kind of takes place during winter, I think. And that is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Now, if you were like me, you probably read this in high school at some point. I read this my senior year of high school and it instantly became one of my favorite books, but especially one of my favorite books that I read in high school. If you have not read it, I would recommend reading it. It's a classic as well. So it's kind of like a coming of age story. I'm gonna read you like the plot of it, basically. It's Christmas time and Holden Caulfield has just been expelled from yet another school. Fleeing the crooks at Pensy Prep, he pinballs around New York City seeking solace in fleeting encounters, shooting the bull with strangers in dive hotels, wandering alone around Central Park, getting beaten up by pimps and cut down by erstwhile girlfriends. The city is beautiful and terrible in all its neon loneliness and seedy glamour, its mingled sense of possibility and emptiness. Holden passes through it like a ghost, thinking always of his kid sister Phoebe, the only person who really understands him, and his determination to escape the phonies and find a life of true meaning. It's kind of a sad story, I guess. Like, he's kind of just he feels let down, I guess. So it's kind of him finding himself and kind of just wandering around. I thought it was kind of funny too. There's definitely some humor. Like, he uses the word phony a lot. Like, oh, they're just a bunch of phonies. It's a great book. I'll probably reread it sometime this spring. But again, it takes place during like Christmas, winter time, so I thought it'd be perfect for the winter reading list. This is also one of my dad's favorite books too, I think. So, and it's one of mine. Alright, last but not least, we have a nonfiction book. I have not finished reading this. I kind of pick it up and read it in like bits and pieces. It's really just wonderfully well written, and that is Cosmos by Carl Sagan. This book cover is just so satisfying. I think galaxies and anything that has to do with space and astronomy is so fascinating to me. It was one of my favorite school subjects. I remember in 5th grade we took our astronomy test and I was like the only one in class who got like an A+, so not to toot my own horn, but you know. I think it's fascinating to think about what else could be out there in the universe and are there other planets with life on them. I'm all for Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos going into space because I think that's gonna be our next big step in humanity, is becoming spacefaring humans. Anyway, so Cosmos. Again, this is a very popular book. It was written in, well, it was published in 1980, I believe. So, you know, obviously 1980 was kind of a long time ago. We know a lot more now than we did then. This book has been kind of like revised, not revised, I guess, but Neil deGrasse Tyson does like a new foreword. So Neil deGrasse Tyson's another cosmologist, or is he an astrophysicist? Is he a cosmologist or astrophysicist? He's one of the two. So it just kind of like gives you a bit of an update. It's one of the best-selling science books of all time. In clear-eyed prose, Sagan reveals a jewel-like blue world inhabited by a life form that is just beginning to discover its own identity and to venture into the vast ocean of space. Cosmos retraces 14 billion years of cosmic evolution that has transformed matter into consciousness, exploring such topics as the origin of life, the human brain, Egyptian hieroglyphics, spacecraft missions, the death of the sun, the evolution of galaxies, and the forces and individuals who helped to shape modern science. It's kind of cool when you see like who said good reviews about this. So like you got like the New York Times, the Miami Herald, and then you have Cosmopolitan magazine. Like Cosmopolitan said, Sagan dazzles the mind with the miracle of her survival framed by the stately galaxies of space. Even though it's a science book and it's a nonfiction book, the way Carl Sagan writes, it's very like mesmerizing and it feels like you're reading a story. It's pretty easy to read, I'd say. What's cool, there are like kind of in the middle, you do get some pictures. So there's definitely like different pictures. Ooh. So again, if you like space and if the universe and all of that interests you, you need to get this book. Keep it, put it on your shelf, pick it up when you want to read about it, when you're feeling like you're in a science mood. I think this was a very important book for its time. I think Carl Sagan still is passed away, obviously, but he is still such a prominent figure in science. Definitely pick this up and you'll enjoy it. So that is it for my winter reading list. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. Like I said, I really got into A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I am just, that's probably all I'm going to be reading for the next few months until I finish the series. I might take a break and read another book. Like maybe I'll take a break and read the guest list. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you recommend any books. I'm so happy that I've gotten back into reading. It's been quite a joy. And it's really helped me at night when I'm trying to fall asleep and get my mind off of things, and it really helps kind of ease my anxious mind. And yeah, it's fun to read a book and you build your imagination that way and kind of get lost in it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. I think we're good. Yay!